Freezing rain then is possible through the overnight hours, and that's what's prompting this concern. This is not a major high impact event. I do want to make sure that people aren't freaking out just because we have a winter weather advisory, but what we are seeing is the potential that we could see some areas of icy roads tomorrow morning. So it's something to pay attention to, not something to freak out over.
This was our biggest concern yesterday anyways, was these area bridges and overpasses. In my opinion, the ground away from those bridges and overpasses,
the surface roads were
too warm.
Weather alert day here in the Lowcountry because we have some wintry weather on tap for the next couple of hours, and the satellite radar picture right now you can see is showing several colors that we don't typically see here in the Lowcountry.
Yeah, it's been very, very light out there.
It doesn't take much though.
And that's the thing, is here in the Lowcountry, you know, if you haven't been here for a while, what you'll find is that a little amount of ice can cause a lot of damage here, a lot of issues on the roadways. And we're really still only talking about just two major areas that are wreaking havoc on the morning drive this morning.
Look at that shot behind you.
Look at that. You'd hardly know that we had freezing rain this morning when you look out there, because the sunshine has returned very nicely.
This morning, though, our temperatures are actually the coldest that we've seen so far this winter, but we have nice dry air, and dry air heats up very efficiently, which is why we're going to warm to those temperatures into the mid-50s. I am keeping a very close eye on Wednesday and Thursday still, backed off to about 20%, but I still think we need to keep an eye on it. One of the models this morning is bringing back in a chance that we could see some precipitation that day, so we'll have to continue to monitor that over the next couple days. We're just not used to these kinds of temperatures here in the Lowcountry, so make sure that you have everything you need to stay warm if you are going to be outside this upcoming week. But those bridges and overpasses, as we saw Friday morning, freeze a lot more efficiently, and that could be an issue even as you head home from those New Year's Eve celebrations. You know, Macy, I'm looking at this 7-day forecast, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have wind chill advisories issued almost every day of the next 7 days. So we may be talking about a weather alert for quite some time. It's very brutal. We may be in weather alert all the way through Sunday because of these chilly wind chills. But watch what happens. 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're seeing a wintry mix into North Florida. That's how far south these chilly temperatures dive. Right now, again, the snowfall totals are anywhere from a trace to around 3 inches of snow for some parts of the Lowcountry. So it is going to be an interesting day that we're certainly keeping an eye on. All right, talking about that weather alert day that we have in effect, it's really actually for tonight into early part of tomorrow morning. Today it's just going to be cold and kind of drizzly. A classic wedge setup where we get the overcast skies, areas of patchy drizzle. It's more pesky than anything else. Then tonight we are going to increase the rain chances slightly with some moisture sitting off the coast of South Carolina. And the big question mark is how much of that actually makes it onshore through the overnight hours. But with the cool air in place, we have that potential for some freezing rain to be mixing in. Winter weather advisory has been issued starting at 11 o'clock tonight through 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and that's for Berkeley, Dorchester, Colleton, and Charleston counties. Icy roads are certainly a possibility for the Friday morning commute. It's not going to be widespread. Not everyone is going to see issues with the Friday morning drive, but it's enough that you want to be extra cautious as you head out the door tomorrow morning. So our rain chances do go up as we head through the day. We're in that low category through most of the day. Again, some areas of patchy drizzle certainly possible, but then we start to increase our chances slightly as we head into the evening hours and the overnight hours. So as we take a look at the temperature forecast for today, it's going to be a chilly one. We're actually going to continue to see our temperatures drop through about 8 o'clock this morning down into the mid-30s. 11 o'clock, you're back up into the upper 30s, but we only top out this afternoon right around 42 degrees. Some areas, especially north of the lakes, could get stuck about 39, maybe 40 degrees. Then by 5 o'clock, we're back down into the 30s, headed for the mid-30s at 7 o'clock. So then we start to look at towards 10 o'clock this evening. 34 degrees is the current temperature at 10 o'clock, and that means we've got enough cool air in place to start to see that switch over to a little bit of freezing rain. Now, freezing rain is rain that falls through the atmosphere, and there's a shallow layer of cool air right at the surface, and that allows for that rain as it comes in contact with the surface there to actually become icy conditions. And that's where we've got the concern for some of those overpasses and the bridges. Those are most efficient at cooling down because they have that cool air running underneath of the overpasses and bridges. That would be my biggest concern for tomorrow morning. Widespread freezing conditions are not expected here across the Lowcountry.
would have expected syrup to be on the list of good things.
It's good news because I like syrup.
It's what we put that syrup on that becomes the trouble. The
Maybe.
French toast, pancakes.
The carb cakes,
Yeah.
all of the carbs.
They're so delicious, though.
Oh, it's so good.
Anyway,
So good.
it's a weather alert day because of the possibility. Listen, it doesn't take a lot of slick surface on a roadway to cause an issue.
Well, we're just
We have
not used
issues
to
when it just rains.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just not used to it. You know, if you're not from here and maybe from somewhere up north where you're thinking, wow, this isn't a big deal, we just don't have weather like this typically, which is why we have the winter weather advisory in effect 11 p.m. tonight to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's quick. It's going to be in and out of here. We're not going to be dealing with it today. Your morning commute this morning is going to be just fine. We've got mostly cloudy, at least weather-wise, mostly cloudy skies as we head through the day ahead. Temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s. We do get wedged in today, and that's what's going to keep our temperatures on the cooler side. So we're in the mid-30s at 8 o'clock, around 40 at noon, 41 at 4, and then down into the mid-30s at 8 o'clock. And that's when we're going to start to increase that chance for some rain here in the area. So taking a look at the satellite radar picture, what we're focusing on is what's happening out here over the Atlantic. That's where the bulk of the moisture is going to be. And the big question mark for us is how close to the coastline does it end up getting? Futurecast model shows that we do have that moisture staying off the shoreline as we head through the day ahead. What it's not picking up on is the wedge. It's having a little trouble with that. I do think we're going to see a mostly cloudy sky as we head through the day ahead. We're just not going to see a lot of sunshine with that classic wedge setup. And at times it's even going to be a little on the drizzly side. Then tonight, here's your Futurecast model. 1 a.m. we're seeing some mixing precipitation here through parts of Georgetown and Williamsburg County. You notice how close to the coastline it is, and it hugs the coastline as we head through the rest of the overnight hours. 4 o'clock, we see some of that freezing rain mixing in as you look towards that 17 corridor. So from Mount Pleasant through Charleston, even parts of North Charleston and down the coastline into the Hollywood area, lower Charleston County, and out down towards Edisto Beach as well. We move it forward another couple of hours, 6 o'clock, we're still seeing frozen precipitation mixing in, and freezing rain. What we're talking about with freezing rain is rain that falls through the atmosphere. It hits a shallow level of cold air right around the surface, and as it makes contact with the surface, it's able to freeze and become icy conditions on the roadways. The best chance to see some of those icy conditions is going to be over the bridges and the overpasses because they cool more efficiently than the rest of the ground. Futurecast model as we look ahead into Friday afternoon brings us partly cloudy skies. So again, this is a quick mover in and out of here. We're not expecting prolonged conditions of icy conditions on the roadways through Friday morning, which is why that winter weather advisory expires at 9 a.m. tomorrow. You can see the temperatures are cooling from the north down to the south, that cooler air diving down to the south, but we're still in the low 40s, Folly Beach and Edisto Beach, even in Mount Pleasant. Everywhere else, we're now down into the 30s. We drop into the mid to upper 30s by about 8 o'clock this morning, and then we only warm into the upper 30s to low 40s this afternoon. You factor in that northeast wind at about 10 to 15 miles per hour, it's going to feel a lot more like the mid 30s, so make sure you're bundling up as you head out the door this morning. Tonight, the cool air is in place, upper 30s to low 40s. The big question mark for us is just how much of that precipitation do we end up seeing. Overnight, we get a north wind at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. And as far as the impacts go, you notice this hasn't changed from yesterday morning. Still very minor impacts expected here across the Lowcountry. Maybe some slippery sidewalks, possible icings of bridges and overpasses. That's going to be my biggest concern for tomorrow morning because again, it cools down a lot more efficiently with that cold air running underneath those overpasses and those bridges. Everywhere else, it's going to be very difficult to get widespread icy conditions on the roadways because those surfaces are just a little too warm. Tomorrow afternoon, we warm into the mid-40s, well above that freezing mark. That allows for any icy conditions to melt off quickly. Then Saturday, we warm into the mid-50s under mainly sunny sky. New Year's Eve day, we're in the mid-40s. Overnight lows Sunday night into Monday morning, we're in the upper 20s to low 30s. It's a very chilly New Year's Eve holiday here. Then the first day of 2018, highs in the upper 30s to low 40s, and we are keeping a very close eye on Wednesday. Right now, our models are very split on whether or not we're going to end up with any sort of precipitation, but if we do end up with precipitation on Wednesday, it's looking like it could be a wintry precipitation, so we'll keep you posted as we get a little closer to that potential event.
Sure, especially our area bridges and overpasses. That's what we're most concerned about this morning, where we could likely see some icy conditions as you head out the door. The good news is, of course, a lot of you don't have to head out the door this morning. Traffic has been pretty light all week, so that should work in our favor. But if you are going to be headed out and about, please be extra careful on the roadways. Give yourself some extra time to get where you're going this morning. That winter weather advisory goes until 9 o'clock because that's a point in time when we think temperatures are going to warm up enough to melt off anything that we could be seeing. The satellite radar picture here shows it's all mixed across the low country this morning. We're not seeing much in the way of straight liquid precipitation because the temperatures are just a little too cold. The radar is picking up on what could be a little bit of snow up around Murrells Inlet down 17 towards Georgetown. Now the radar this morning has been picking up on stuff that's not making it all the way to the ground. So just be aware that this could be painting a little more dire picture than what we're actually seeing at ground level. But certainly if you're seeing something in your neighborhood, we'd love to hear about it. As we take a look a little further off to the west around St. Stephen, as you travel 52 down towards Monk's Corner, this is a freezing rain, maybe mixed with a little bit of sleet there showing up on the radar. And then as you look a little further to the south, Somerville up towards Goose Creek, North Charleston into West Ashley, down towards James and Johns Island into Hollywood, back towards Walterboro. We've got that freezing rain falling. So that's rain that's falling as liquid. So most of you, if you're out and about driving, aren't going to notice it necessarily on your windshield. It's not going to be those ice pellets necessarily mixing in. It's going to look like liquid on your windshield. But then when you look down at the ground, you've got that icy glaze. And that's what we're most concerned about, is that some of these areas that some of you folks are going to be driving through this morning could be a little on the slick side, and it goes all the way actually down towards Seabrook Island, Edisto Beach, maybe even seeing a little bit of that freezing rain this morning. The Futurecast model shows that we're going to continue to see it probably for the next couple of hours, but by 6 o'clock it's pushing everything offshore. So the good news is this isn't a prolonged situation. We're not expecting this to go on through the majority of the morning hours. In fact, by the time we get to about 10, 11 o'clock this morning, we're going to start to get a little more sunshine back into the forecast, and we're going to warm up with those temperatures above the freezing mark for the afternoon with highs into the mid 40s.
Throughout the last even 30 minutes or so.
Well, in Charleston County, we've been hearing reports now on I-26 of some of those overpasses. The overpass
Cosgrove.
over Dorchester Road, the overpass over Cosgrove Avenue. Both of those seem to have reports of ice on them. You can see we're starting to see some of these accidents pop up on our traffic system. That is all in that stretch between 526 and before you get to the Ravenel Bridge is where we're seeing those accidents. So the big concern, Brad, continues to be the area overpasses and bridges. Those are going to be the areas that you're most likely going to see some of those icy conditions and are seeing them right now.
If you could,
And that's the reports that we've been getting this morning, is that we've been seeing those reports across overpasses, bridges and overpasses, and that's going to continue to be our biggest concern. We've had that light freezing rain falling across a good portion of the area throughout the morning hours. I haven't heard a lot of reports of those slick conditions on the other roadways that are not overpasses and bridges. But if you're seeing something out there, certainly let us know so that we can pass it along to everyone else. We want to make sure that everyone is getting where they need to be going safely this morning if you have to leave at all. But of course, we're encouraging you to stay home if you don't have anywhere you have to be. Let's take a look at the satellite radar picture right now and show you what's exactly going on. I'm a little concerned about what's happening down here in Lower Charleston County and Colleton County, just because we're starting to see some things fill back in. North, we're getting a little bit of a sleet mix here. And in fact, on Facebook, just got a report that we've seen actually a few snowflakes flying up around Georgetown. We're seeing some of that on 701, where we've got a mix of sleet, maybe a little snow, maybe rain mixing in as well. Pleasant Hill, down towards Andrews, you're seeing some of that wintry mix. And as you travel 521 back towards Kingstree, you're also going to be dealing with that. 17, as you travel out of Georgetown in both directions there, you're going to be dealing with some wintry weather. And on 17A out of Georgetown, out towards Jamestown and towards St. Stephen, you're going to be dealing with some wintry precipitation. 552 between St. Stephen and Monk's Corner, it's hit and miss there. As you get into Monk's Corner, looks like some freezing rain falling, mixing in with a little bit of light rain out towards Cross as well. As you travel State Road, between Somerville out towards the Holly Hill area. It's hit and miss there. 78 out towards the Ridgeville area. Into St. George, we're seeing another round of some wintry precipitation falling for you. Down 15 towards Kennedy's, even into Walterboro, down that I-95 corridor. It's going to be probably a little slick for some of those overpasses there. And as you look into lower Charleston County, this is what I'm talking about. We're starting to see another round of freezing rain move into the Hollywood area, the Ravenel area here on 17 up towards Johns Island. We've got some light freezing rain into Hanahan and up towards the Wando area. The good news is it does start to die down as we head through the next couple of hours, and once we get that temperature back above freezing, that's when we're going to start to be able to see some of this icy conditions melt off, and we should see those temperatures back above freezing by about 9-10 o'clock this morning, and then we dry out and see a little bit of sunshine moving into the forecast as we head into the afternoon.
It may not be over, at least for the parts of Charleston County.
Yeah, there's an area of freezing rain that's filling in southern Charleston County, lower Colleton County. That's got me a little concerned, just that we're going to see another round of freezing rain moving through the metro area, and that could lead to some of these issues relapsing once again. These things that we've ironed out and have kind of seen improvements in could actually start to go back downhill. Satellite radar picture shows you've got a wintry mix all the way from Georgetown and Williamsburg County down into Moncks Corner, into Somerville. It's hit and miss through Walterboro, but you notice how that area south of Charleston County is a little more solid than it has been over the last 30 minutes or so. That's pushing up the coastline, and it's going to move through the area. It's very light rain. We're not talking about a very heavy rain, but the temperatures are there for that rain once it makes contact with these surfaces, these cold surfaces, for it to freeze. And that's the definition of freezing rain. It's rain that falls all the way through a shallow pool of cool air right at the surface, and when it makes contact with the surface, it freezes. So that's what we're seeing this morning. Upper 20s, low 30s. It's very chilly out there. It feels like the teens and 20s in most spots. The good news is that this is going to continue to be short-lived. By the time we get to about 9-10 o'clock, the winter weather advisory expires at 9 o'clock. 9-10 o'clock, we'll see those temperatures back above freezing. We're going to start to see a little bit of sunshine as well, and that's going to help to thaw everything out, melt all those icy conditions across the roadways, and then we can focus on the chilly temperatures that we're expecting for the end of 2017 and into the early part of 2018.
And get ready for the next one.
Yeah, right. Wednesday, Thursday, we're still keeping an eye on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, over the next couple of hours, just watch for more freezing rain. My biggest concern continues to be the bridges and overpasses. Brad, we're just not getting a lot of reports from other areas than the normal ground roadways that we're having issues.
Right, James
in those
Island,
areas.
Johns Island.
Yeah.
So far, so good. I guess no news is good news. Overall, Chrissy, boy, what a mess caused by, what, like 300th of an inch?
Yeah, that's the official report from the airport, which is where we keep the records. The National Weather Service out at the airport. Officially 0.3 of an inch of rain, of ice accumulation.
That's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. That's what caused this giant mess. Most areas across the Lowcountry reported just a trace, but you note what happened this morning, and it was all of our bridges and overpasses where we saw all of the issues. The ground temperature was just a little too warm to support any of that ice accumulation really anywhere else. So kind of like we said it was going to happen. We just didn't know it was going to cause that big of a mess, I guess.
Right, man. If you look, though, on the Ravenel Bridge, it's dry. You
Yeah.
would have never known. If you're just waking up and walking out the door, you're like, what are you talking about? What's the fuss?
What you talking about? Yeah. Let's take a look at the forecast for the rest of the afternoon, because I promise you it does improve. As we were just talking, most areas just saw a trace of ice. 0.3 of an inch of ice recorded at Charleston International Airport, impacting mainly our bridges and overpasses, where we saw the issues with that ice. And that was the freezing rain that fell across the area. It's now moving away from the shoreline, all of that moisture, and we're starting to see that clearing sky here in the Lowcountry. Sunshine actually breaking out for most of us right now, and that's going to continue into the rest of the afternoon. It's going to help our temperatures warm up as we head into the later part of the day. Right now, our temperatures are still on the chilly side, but the good news is we're above freezing in all areas right now. The coolest spot is Georgetown at 34 degrees right now. It's 38 Charleston International, Goose Creek, and out towards Walterboro. It's 35 for you currently in Moncks Corner and in Mount Pleasant, and 36 on Folly Beach. Keep in mind, though, we have a north wind about 5 to 10 miles per hour today, so those temperatures right now even feel a lot more like the mid-20s to the low 30s. Temperatures this afternoon only warm up into the mid-40s. It's going to be a chilly day, but the good news is we at least get
A lot of sunshine to go with those chillier temperatures. Then tonight we get a clear sky, good radiational cooling night. So those temperatures are going to drop back down into the upper 20s to low 30s inland, mid 30s at the coastline. We do have a north wind overnight tonight about 0 to 5 miles per hour. So wind chill not really a factor overnight tonight. So now we shift our attention to this big chill that's coming for the last couple of days of 2017 and into the early part of next year. December so far is still above normal, believe it or not. Even after these last 4 days with these below normal temperatures, we're 1.4 degrees above normal. The next 3 days I do think are going to be below normal. Saturday's the closest day that we may get to a normal type day, but we're still talking a couple degrees below that normal daytime high of 59 degrees. Our air mass tracker shows that we have that cooler air diving south all the way through the rest of the weekend. We get a nice shot of even stronger cold air as we head into the day Monday and Tuesday. And then we keep that going through the early part of next week and all the way actually till Thursday and Friday. It doesn't look like it's going to let up anytime soon. So Saturday is the warmest day with highs in the mid to upper 50s. New Year's Eve day, we're going to see highs in the upper 40s. That's not bad when you see where we're headed for New Year's Day. Highs in the upper 30s to low 40s. As you make your plans for New Year's Eve, keep in mind those temperatures around the ball drop are going to be in the mid 30s, and then morning lows on Monday morning, upper 20s to low 30s. Tuesday morning, with temperatures in the teens and 20s in some spots, and the wind chill, it could feel like single digits through some areas. We'll be right back. You're watching News 2 Midday.
Taking a look at your forecast for your Saturday, get out and enjoy it because this is the warmest we're going to be for at least the next 7 days with highs this afternoon into the mid to upper 50s. This morning though, our temperatures are actually the coldest that we've seen so far this winter, but we have nice dry air and dry air heats up very efficiently, which is why we're going to warm to those temperatures into the mid 50s. 34 degrees at 8 o'clock. We warm up quickly to 52 by noon, 56 at 4 o'clock with plenty of sunshine as we head through the day ahead. It's really going to be a very nice wintry day here in the Lowcountry because we're going to head for some very bitter cold temperatures here over the next several days. It's nice and quiet across the southeast. We have a few clouds out there this morning, but I think those are going to go away by the time the sun comes up and we've got all that sunshine on the way to help us enjoy these mild temperatures. Right now though, it's chilly, so you're going to want to bundle up if you're headed out and about early. It's 26 currently in Walterboro and in Moncks Corner, 28 for you right now in Kingstree, 30 in Georgetown and out at Charleston International, and it's even 36 on Folly Beach. The official coldest day that we've had out at Charleston International prior to this morning was 30 degrees. Earlier this morning, we were actually at 27 out at the airport. So again, it is now the coldest morning we've had so far this winter, but not the coldest we're going to have. Temperatures this afternoon warming into the mid 50s, 55 Edisto Beach, Seabrook Island, 58 for you on Johns Island and in Somerville. You're looking at a high of 56 in Moncks Corner, 56 for you in Andrews and Kingstree, 57 in Georgetown, an afternoon high of 55 Isle of Palms, Folly Beach, and 57 for the afternoon high in North Charleston. Temperatures tonight, upper 30s at the coastline, inland, you're going to be a little more mild than what you're seeing this morning, low to mid 30s. I do think some areas north of the lakes drop down below the freezing mark, but most of us will stay just above that freezing mark. But this again is going to be some of the warmest temperatures we have in your 7-day forecast that you're going to see here in just a moment. That air mass tracker shows that cold air diving south once again as we head into the day on Monday. Monday and Tuesday look like the coldest days in the 7-day period with temperatures only in the mid to upper 30s. But notice that cold air is just persistent. We get another shot of it as we head into the day Friday and Saturday, and it's looking like it's not going to let up anytime in the near future. So for tomorrow, for New Year's Eve day, we get our temperatures dropping about 10 degrees to highs in the mid 40s. Then as you look towards New Year's Day, or I should focus on New Year's Eve night, if you're headed out and about as the ball is dropping here in the Lowcountry, you're going to see temperatures down into the low to mid 30s. Then Monday morning, you're waking up to temperatures in the mid 20s inland, upper 20s at the coastline. It's going to feel a lot more like the teens through most areas. Monday and Tuesday, those highs only in the mid to upper 30s. And Tuesday morning is very interesting because we're going to see our temperatures drop down into the upper teens to low 20s inland. Wind chill is going to make it feel like the single digits in some areas. That is bitterly cold for us here in the Lowcountry. I am keeping a very close eye on Wednesday and Thursday still. Backed off to about 20%, but I still think we need to keep an eye on it. One of the models this morning is bringing back in a chance that we could see some precipitation that day, so we'll have to continue to monitor that over the next couple days so we get a better handle on the forecast there. Bottom line, Macy, it's going to be very cold. Good morning. It's a weather alert day here in the Lowcountry because we are monitoring the potential for a little bit of freezing rain overnight tonight. This is really out of an abundance of caution. However, I do have growing concerns with the latest model runs that are starting to come in to the News 2 Storm Team 2 Weather Center, that we could see some freezing rain and maybe even some snowflakes flying through the overnight hours. The cold air is in place. The big question is how much of this moisture that's moving across the deep south, moving across Mississippi, Alabama into Georgia right now, ends up in our neighborhoods through the overnight hours. The Futurecast model is indicating that we're going to see at least a little bit of this move into the area. So what you're looking at here is 6 o'clock tonight. After a mainly sunny day, we start to see the cloud cover increase through the late afternoon and into the evening hours. And you can see we're starting to see some mixing out here over by Aiken. Notice how isolated everything is, but what it's picking up on is that we do have a little bit of moisture to work with here in the atmosphere. As we continue to push the Futurecast along, 9 o'clock in the evening, we've got some freezing rain mixing in back here along that I-95 corridor into parts of Colleton County. Take it towards 10 o'clock, we're seeing some snowflakes here mixing in Dorchester and Colleton County. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly how everything is going to play out, but this is the most updated run of our Futurecast model, and it's starting to trend towards a little more precipitation here in the Lowcountry through the overnight hours, which is why I have those growing concerns. We're going to see at least a little bit of something in some neighborhoods. Notice at 10 o'clock, though, we do have a little bit of rain down into lower Charleston County and coastal Colleton County, so we're not quite fully mixed in as we look towards 10 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, though, those temperatures are going to be dropping below the freezing mark in a lot of areas, and so we're going to start to see that mixed precipitation even through Charleston County. A little bit further to the south, it is going to be a little more on the rain side, but as we look towards that ball drop at midnight, it's very isolated still, but we still could be seeing some areas of patchy drizzle. And keep in mind what we saw on Friday morning. 0.03 of an inch of precipitation recorded out at the Charleston airport. That's what did all that damage on Friday morning with the closed bridges across a good chunk of Charleston County. So we're monitoring that potential once again through the overnight hours that we could see a similar setup. At 1 a.m. we're seeing some freezing rain mixing here across the area and even a little bit more of it by 2 o'clock this morning. It doesn't really clear us out until we get about 6 o'clock in the morning. That's when we're looking at the Futurecast model clearing us out. There is a model that's a little more aggressive with the precipitation potential. That's a worst case scenario. This scenario is kind of a blend of what we're seeing in the modeling right now. So I just want you to be prepared for worst case scenario. There is still a chance that we end up getting nothing out of this, and that would be fantastic. But if you are going to be headed out and about for your New Year's Eve celebrations this evening, make sure that you have an alternate route to get home if you do have to cross over some area bridges. We could see some icy conditions once again through the overnight hours. So the potential impacts are here. Light to a freezing drizzle could cause some of those issues. Again, 0.03 of an inch fell on Friday morning, and that caused all those issues for those icy bridges and overpasses. That's really the main concern. The ground level is just too warm. Those bridges and overpasses cool a little more efficiently, so that could be the issue for the overnight hours tonight. And I do think those temperatures do drop below freezing for all of us before we get the ball dropping here. Temperatures right now aren't bad. It was a little warmer this morning than yesterday morning. We're into the 30s and low 40s. By 11 o'clock, we see those temperatures into the upper 30s to the mid 40s. Most of us making it into the mid 40s this afternoon, except for north of the lakes where you could get stuck in the upper 30s. It's going to be a chilly day and an even chillier night. So looking ahead to midnight tonight, as that ball is dropping, we're talking upper 20s to low 30s, but the yellow number there, that's the feels like temperature.
it feels like the 20s as you ring in 2018. Then tomorrow, for the first day of the new year, we get temperatures only warming into the mid-30s. Tuesday morning looks like a very, very chilly start with temperatures in the teens and low 20s and wind chills possibly in the single digits. Macy, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about wind chill advisories going forward for Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday and Thursday mornings.
That's right. Tomorrow is looking like the day where we could finally get a little bit of wintry weather in the Lowcountry, although it certainly feels like wintry weather this morning. A wind chill advisory is in effect until 10 o'clock this morning for all of the counties here in the Lowcountry, and that's because our temperatures right now are in the teens and 20s. You factor in north wind at about 10 to 15 miles per hour, and it feels more like the single digits and the teens. So taking a look at the current temperatures, we're ranging from 20 in Kingstree to 24 on Folly Beach and Edisto Beach. These temperatures have been steadily dropping through the morning hours, and we're down another degree out at the airport in North Charleston. And then you factor in that wind, and it feels like the single digits in Monk's Corner, Somerville, Charleston, Goose Creek, Georgetown, and Pawleys Island. Feels like 10 degrees as you step out the door in Walterboro and in Kiowa Island, and it feels like the low teens from Edisto Beach up the coastline to Mount Pleasant and in Kingstree as well. So it's bitterly cold out there this morning. You need to bundle up, make sure you've got the scarves, the hats, the gloves, everything. You don't want to have any exposed skin. If you're out there for too long, it could lead to some frostbite. Temperatures are going to very slowly rise as we head towards lunchtime to the mid-30s. We're just barely above freezing by the time we get to the middle part of the day. Plenty of sunshine into the afternoon. That's the one saving grace that we do have, but we're still only looking at highs in the mid-30s. And then you factor in that persistent wind, again, 10 to 15 miles per hour through the rest of the day, and it feels a lot more like the upper 20s to around 30 degrees, even during the warmest part of the day. On top of that, we now have a winter storm watch that has been issued for the day tomorrow, and that's because we're expecting some sleet and probably some snowflakes flying here in the Lowcountry. I'll detail all of that potential coming up here in just a few minutes.
Alert day declared here at News 2. The chilly weather, the cold weather continues for us as kids getting ready to go back to school. It's brutal out there.
Yeah, it's very brutal. We may be in weather alert all the way through Sunday because of these chilly wind chills, just because the wind doesn't look like it's going to die down anytime soon, and we don't see temperatures overnight above the 20s all the way until Sunday morning.
Wow.
It's going to be cold.
So maybe they won't be going back to school this week.
It depends. It depends. I think a lot of it depends on what happens tomorrow.
Yeah,
right.
And then how cold it is
it's
for
Thursday,
the
right?
next
Isn't
couple
it?
days.
It's spread out.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the current temperatures. At least they're not going back to school today because, well, it's just downright cold outside. Temperatures right now ranging from 20 degrees in Kingstree to 24 Mount Pleasant, Folly Beach, and Edisto Beach. That's the temperature reading. Then you factor in the wind, and this is what it feels like when you head out the door. It feels like the single digits in Monk's Corner, Georgetown, Pawleys Island, out back towards Orangeburg. It feels like 10 degrees in Goose Creek and Charleston. It feels like the low teens everywhere else. So it is very brutally cold outside, especially for us here in the Lowcountry, and we're just not going to warm up a whole lot even through the afternoon hours. Now, yesterday we hit a high of 34. Today we're looking at highs maybe a couple degrees warmer than that, but we're going to struggle, especially since we started so chilly this morning. We're looking at 35 this afternoon in Kingstree, 36 Walterboro and Pawleys Island, 37 on Sullivan's Island. That north wind at about 10 to 15 miles per hour is going to keep it feeling more like the upper 20s to around 30 degrees. That's looking like some of the warmest wind chills we're going to see is right around 30 degrees, even during the warmest part of the afternoon. 37 Somerville, Isle of Palms, 36 for you in Georgetown and Monk's Corner. We do get a lot of sunshine today. That's the good news. Tonight, the cloud cover is going to increase ahead of this potential storm system, and wind chills are going to be back in the teens. I wouldn't be surprised to see a wind chill advisory issued for the coastal counties. Once again, it's a little harder to get a wind chill advisory inland just because the cutoff there is 10 degrees. I think it's going to feel a little warmer than that tomorrow morning, but you're still looking at temperatures solidly into the 20s, maybe even some teens up north of the lakes tomorrow morning. Right now, it's a quiet start to the day. We're not expecting any sort of precipitation today. Tomorrow is going to be the big day to watch, and it's because we're watching some of this moisture here off the coast of Florida. That potential is there that this is going to develop into a low pressure system. Now, the big question is where it tracks, and we're becoming more and more confident that it's going to get close enough to the South Carolina coast, at least close enough that we're going to see some sort of wintry precipitation here. So as we head into the day today, we stay nice and dry. The bulk of the moisture is still down to our south, but watch what happens 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're seeing a wintry mix into North Florida. That's how far south these chilly temperatures dive. Then moves up through southeast Georgia and heads for the low country of South Carolina as we head into the morning hours tomorrow. So our in-house model is indicating we could start to see some of this wintry precipitation as early as 8 o'clock in the morning. And it's coming up from South Georgia. So we're watching the system lift up to the north. It's going to start down across Beaufort into Gallatin County first, and then move up the Charleston County coastline into parts of Berkeley, Dorchester, and Gallatin County. You're seeing a change over to snow by 11 o'clock in the morning. And then we continue to see that snow line push towards the coast as we head through the day. It's kind of counterintuitive because you expect your temperatures to rise, but keep in mind the snowfall potential doesn't actually have anything to do, or it doesn't have exactly to do with surface temperatures. We're actually looking at more of what's going on throughout the column of air sitting above the earth to find out what kind of precipitation we're looking at. And that potential is there that we're going to see some snow mixing in out towards the coastline as we head even into the afternoon hours. 5 o'clock it starts to lift north of 26 and continues up the coastline through the PD. By 7 o'clock we should start to be seeing things die down, and then it does clear out Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So the potential impacts for Thursday morning are really going to be dependent on how much we end up getting out of this. And right now those snowfall totals are still a little on the rocky side as far as pinning down exactly what we're going to end up seeing, but we're looking right now at anywhere from a trace to maybe around 2 inches of wet snow. We're not talking about that dry powdery stuff. We're talking about heavy wet snow possibly falling through the day tomorrow. Temperatures only warming into the mid-30s tomorrow, and that actually may be a little warm. We may have to bring those temperatures, those high temperatures for tomorrow, down. Then Thursday we get a lot of sunshine in there. We do rebound into the low 40s, and we keep those low 40s for Friday and Saturday, but it's certainly still chilly with those overnight lows in the 20s. We finally start to see a little bit of a warm up as we look towards Monday. Yeah, a little bit of weather whiplash for you. Monday we're looking at highs back into the 60s. Winter weather alert here in the low country, and that's because we have a wind chill advisory in effect this morning, but we also have a winter storm watch that has already been issued for tomorrow. So we're going to be in weather alerts all the way through at least tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised though if we see that weather alert going all the way to possibly even Sunday morning, with wind chill advisories possible along the coastline for the next several days. So the big story as we head into the day tomorrow is going to be this winter storm watch, and it does look like this is going to be a pretty messy situation for us here in the low country. We are growing more and more confident that we are going to see at least something all across the low country during the day tomorrow. Right now, it's nice and quiet out there. We're not expecting anything through the day ahead. In fact, a lot of sunshine on tap. The temperatures today are the big story, but tomorrow we shift our focus to that potential for some wintry weather. We actually may see a wind chill advisory tomorrow morning along the Charleston County coastline as well. So it's going to be a chilly start to the day, but then we talk about this chance for some precipitation. 7 o'clock in the morning, we've got an increase in cloud cover. It's mostly cloudy to start off the day. We may be seeing a little bit of light precipitation here, but notice what happens as this starts to move up out of southeast Georgia. It comes in as a wintry mix. It's not likely we're going to see much in the way of rain tomorrow. This is going to start out as a little bit of sleet, maybe some freezing rain along the coastline, even a few snowflakes back towards that I-95 corridor. And it does look like we're going to see a mess along the coastline during the early part of the day tomorrow. It's starting off that way, and then that snow line pushes out towards the coastline as we head into the afternoon hours, and then we get that switch over. But with anything that falls, whether it's freezing rain or even a little bit of sleet, that increases our potential to see icy roads tomorrow morning. So I do think this is looking like a pretty messy setup for the day on Wednesday, and it does look like the majority of this comes during the daylight hours tomorrow. 3 o'clock is when we're starting to see that snow line along the coastline, and that's also where we're expecting our highest snowfall potential. It starts to lift up to the north as we head towards 5 o'clock, moving north of I-26 up into the PD as we look towards 6, 7 o'clock, and then up into North Carolina. So the system moves fairly quickly out of here, but we are looking at a pretty messy day for your Wednesday. So here's a look at the latest snowfall totals expected here across the area. Inland areas, a trace to around 1 inch of snow, 1 to 2 inches as you move a little closer towards that coastline, mainly between about 17A and 17, and then right along the coastline we could see 2 to 3 inches of snow, and that's just the snowfall total. That doesn't include any ice accumulations we could see earlier in the day. So again, this is looking like a pretty messy setup for the day on Wednesday. We continue to monitor it as we get a little bit closer, and we'll talk more details coming up a little later on.
An idea of some of the more dramatic conditions that you're seeing right now if you take a look at the maps.
We're actually getting a little warm nose working into parts of the coastline, so we're starting to see a switch back over to a little bit of sleet and even some freezing rain in some spots. It's a real small isolated area, but certainly something we're concerned about. But then there's also reports of snow continuing to dump in a lot of places. So we've already received reports across the Lowcountry of anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of snow, and those areas are still getting more and more, and it's continuing to just fall here in the Lowcountry. Nice little winter wonderland here as you look from a Windjammer camera out towards the Isle of Palms. It's a beautiful sight there to see all that snow there on the beach, something we don't often expect to see here in the Lowcountry. Let's take a look at what's going on with our current conditions as we take a look from our beach club camera. That you can see that very heavy snow has clouded up that camera right now. It is snowing to beat the band behind that camera in the Charleston Harbor right now. Charleston International, 29 degrees, feels like 18 degrees. So that temperature below that freezing mark, north-northwest wind at 14 miles per hour. So it's actually blowing a little bit in the wind there. The hour-by-hour forecast is going to keep that snowfall going for at least the next little while. I do think this starts to clear that Georgetown County area once we get towards about 8, 9 o'clock, and then we continue with those mostly cloudy skies. But with those temperatures hovering into the upper 20s, even those windy conditions continuing, we're not going to see any of this melt off. So everything that's falling right now is going to stick, and it's going to stick around at least through the overnight hours. Satellite radar picture showing some of those heavier bands of snow, especially as it moving across the 26 corridor right now. And this is what I was talking about. A little bit of mixing showing up here on the radar returns into lower Charleston County right now. So that would be Kiowa Island as you look down towards Seabrook, down towards Edisto Beach as well. Maybe even a little bit of mixing on parts of Wadmalaw right now. So you can see as we take a closer look in, most of us are seeing the snow, but right here along the Charleston County coastline is where we're concerned that we may be seeing a little bit of sleet, maybe a little bit of freezing rain on top of some of that snow that's already fallen. So that's going to create a very slushy, a very icy mess on some of those areas. Now you can see this whole system is lifting up to the north, and so we're starting to see that back edge of the snow move out of Georgia and come into South Carolina. So we're going to start to get dry slotted here in the next little while, and then we're going to start to see things taper off. But everything's going to taper off from the south up to the north. So we're going to see things clear out from Beaufort up through Colleton into Dorchester, Charleston, and then it leaves Georgetown County last, before we start to see things really improve through the overnight hours. But of course, those temperatures going to stay nice and chilly, which means nothing's going to have the ability to melt off through the overnight hours. The big picture here shows that low pressure, again, continuing to move up the coastline. I do want to show you the future radar and show you exactly what we're expecting through the next several hours. 4 o'clock, we're still seeing a good amount of heavy snow across most of the Lowcountry. By 6 o'clock, we might start to see some clearing back towards Colleton County, and then it continues to lift up to the north. So again, 9 o'clock, we're seeing that lift out of the Tri-Counties area, even Williamsburg County starting to clear out a little bit. And then as we get in towards the later hours, 10, 11 o'clock, that's when it starts to clear Georgetown and heads up towards the PD. And then we look at a mostly cloudy sky for the several hours. Probably going to see a little bit of clearing even into tomorrow morning because there's sunshine in the forecast as we head into the day tomorrow. That should help to melt things off at least a little bit as we head into the day tomorrow. But overnight tonight, we're not expecting to see any sort of that melting. So what's falling from the sky, guys, is going to stick around at least until tomorrow morning.